Colette Kramer, Chair of the OCBA Health and Wellness Committee. Thank you for joining us for this educational lunch and learn on stress and nutrition in the time of quarantine. The first 10 OCBA members that registered for today will receive a $10 gift card to Hungry Pants. We're going to be joined today by Dr. Tasha D. Reed, who will discuss the common types of stress. She'll discuss the connection between stress and common physical complaints, such as low energy, fatigue, and insomnia. Dr. Reed will give us some tips on how proper nutrition can help lower stress and increase energy, and answer any questions that you may have at the conclusion of her presentation. Dr. Reed has resided in the Orlando area for over 35 years. She's a graduate of the University of Central Florida, and she graduated from Chiropractic College in 2001. She's been practicing ever since. Reed Chiropractic and Wellness Center was established in 2016 and specializes in treating acute and chronic pain to the I said it earlier. Well, Dr. Reed will tell you about it. Injuries due to accidents, falls in everyday life, and nutritional consultations. Yes, thank you. And support for the everyday person. Dr. Reed is a certified medical examiner for the FMCSA to provide DOT physicals for truck drivers. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her husband and family, gardening, and anything sci-fi. And in case you didn't know, I don't do personal injury, so I don't pronounce medical terms. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Reed.
Thank you so much. Was neuromusculoskeletal. Or you could just shorten it to NMS. Keep it simple, not a big deal. Good afternoon, everyone. So March is National Nutrition Month. So definitely wanted to bring you some information about stress and low energy and what some things that you can do nutritional wise to help support that. But before even getting into that, I want to definitely talk about what is stress to everyone. A lot of times people may have their own idea of what stress is to them, but I'm going to kind of break things down a little bit even further for you. So the title of my presentation is Stress in a Time of Quarantine, because we are still going through this pandemic and being vaccinated and all that fun stuff that goes with that. Just to give a medical disclaimer, the content contained in this presentation is for informational purposes only and is not meant to treat, cure, or diagnose any current or past medical conditions. So we're going to talk about the types of stress, what stress is doing to all of us, and ways that you can cope using nutrition. So what exactly is stress? Stress is defined in Webster as being a physical, chemical, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension and may be a factor in disease causation. I stress that because it's more than maybe a factor. It is definitely a factor in disease causation. But a lot of times we may not even realize how stress is. They have the physical component, you have the chemical component, and then possibly the emotional factor. So this is a term that a lot of us probably remember from maybe at least high school, maybe college, the fight or flight response. And so this is a response that occurs physiologically in our bodies. And this happens as a result of something threatening or scary that occurs to us. And our body's natural instinct is to either fight for your life or run like Freddy Krueger. I know I just let everyone know my age because, yes, I did say Freddy Krueger. I don't even know what any updated horror person there is right now. But like I said, running like Freddy Krueger is chasing you. So this is usually a quick or acute reaction to something, such as having to suddenly slam on your brakes because someone stopped in front of you suddenly, or something ran across your path in the road, and you're having to suddenly stop to avoid it. Your body is going to react, and then normally, if everything is under normal circumstances, your body will recover, or at least it should. The problem arises is when the body does not recover and instead remains in this constant state of what we call the fight or flight response, or simple term is being stressed out, being the heck stressed out, whatever, however you want to say it. Having one of those days, overwhelmed, is just constantly in go, 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 go mode. So I like to term this as the little engine that couldn't, or you could say the little engine that could, but just really couldn't quite get there. Consider yourself being an engine and you're constantly in that revved up state. You're constantly in that go, 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 go. Eventually, that engine will burn out. Eventually, something is just not going to function the way that it should. And that's what happens to our bodies when we're constantly and under constant stress, I should say, or chronic stress, or again, that fight or flight response. Your body is eventually going to burn out on you. So going back to the types of stress, we have physical, again, chemical or slash environmental, and then number three being emotional or mental. Looking at the physical side of things, that can be your poor posture. And I say your poor posture because a lot of people do have poor posture, especially during this time of this pandemic. A lot of people are working from home. Uh, and so you have these makeshift offices, or you're at your dining room table or your coffee table and you're hunched over. Poor posture is a type of stress. Trauma, acute injuries, chronic injuries, whether it was from a car accident, whether it was from a fall. I had someone that tripped and fell on a sidewalk the other day, or even those repetitive type injuries, something that just constantly happening. It just becomes a vicious cycle. All of these are physical stresses. Arthritis. A lot of people won't even recognize arthritis as being a physical stress. Anytime something is away from normal, your body is under some type of stress in some ways. And also prolonged positions. Again, during this pandemic, a lot of people are working from home again, working on computers constantly. So prolonged sitting, prolonged computer use, prolonged standing, prolonged bent over, all of these things. And prolonged can vary. It can be anywhere from 5 minutes or it can be 30 minutes to a half hour. It just depends on what your body is going through personally that causes it to get used to something, I should say. Going into chemical and environmental stresses, the type of household cleaners that you use, if you have mold in your home, if you had any type of leak in your home, toxins that are not naturally eliminated from the body. Our body goes through a natural detox process, or should go through a natural detox process. But when the body is overwhelmed, it's not going to naturally do what it's supposed to do. So sometimes those things that should be normally eliminated get stuck in the body, basically. A lot of the foods that we're eating, the preservatives, the additives, the hormones that are put into foods, artificial products that are added to foods. I myself am very sensitive to different types of foods that have certain things. I love red velvet cake, but I can't eat red velvet cake because of all the red dye that's in it. And I immediately get a headache and I get a metallic taste in my mouth. So all of these things are causing stresses to our bodies. Also the medications that we're taking. Yes, they are for a certain thing, but they are chemicals and they are disrupting some process in our body. And lastly, you have the emotional and the mental side. So I would ask the question of, how is your work life? How is your home life? How is this pandemic been affecting you emotionally, spiritually? What's going on in your relationships? Are you in a toxic relationship? Are you in an abusive relationship, a verbally abusive relationship? All of these things play a factor in what happens to us. You know, are you interacting with just toxic people? Unfortunately, we all come across that in some ways. But what is going on in all aspects of your life? So all of this comes down to, what is all of this stress doing to us? Obviously, by this picture, it's also making us very paranoid out there, and that's not a good thing for us. But what is all of this stress doing to us? Well, the results are in. It's causing us to have more pain, more inflammation in our bodies, anxiety, mood changes, more worry, more fatigue. And of course, if you're stressed, knowing that you're stressed is going to cause you to become more stressed. That's going to also lead to fatigue, low energy, and so much more. There are so many different, what I call end stage diseases or conditions that have been linked back to stress. And you can kind of look at stress as kind of like an umbrella term. There's so many things that fall up under it because there's so many classifications. So unexplained symptoms, unexplained pains, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune diseases, all of these things have been linked back to that umbrella term of stress. So, how do we start to turn this around? We turn it around with nutrition. We turn it around with the things that we're putting into our bodies. Okay. Uh, it's basically, you are what you eat. If you're eating a lot of crappy food, a lot of junk food, and by no means is this a presentation about being judgmental in any way, because we have all fallen into this category. When we're stressed, we tend to reach for those things that maybe are not so good for us, whether it's the things that we drink, whether it's the things that we do, whether it's the things that we consume into our bodies. We have all fallen into that category. So let's talk about one of the first foods that helps to fight stress: green leafy vegetables. And sometimes people may say, ew, I don't like my vegetables. I don't like this. I was probably like that when I was little. I didn't like a lot of different things, especially if it came out of a can. I still can't stand canned vegetables. But as I became an adult and started to try things out for myself, that is when I learned to appreciate and embrace so many types of vegetables. So it is nothing for me to just sit down and eat a huge salad. My husband would have a different idea about that. He thinks I'm crazy when I do that. But green leafy vegetables. You have kale, you have mustard, you have collards. Definitely being in the South, that's why I'm naming all of these things. You have your turnip greens. A lot of people don't know that beets have greens that are associated with them. Actually, what you see coming out of the ground is the greens part of it, or the leafy green part of it, and then the beet is under the ground. And of course, all your different type of lettuces outside of iceberg lettuce. You just nah, leave that one alone. So spinach, for example, contains folate, which helps to produce dopamine. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the word or heard the term dopamine before. Dopamine is basically that pleasure inducing chemical in the brain, which basically equals calm. You have more dopamine, you can stay in more of a calm state. So load up on those green leafy vegetables. I have currently a garden going now with, let me see, I have mustard, I have collards, I have turnips, and I have some spinach going so far. I'm waiting for that to fully come up. But all of these things our bodies need, okay? And dopamine is one of those brain neurotransmitters that is very, very important. When that is decreased, if that is not being produced enough, that is going to be one of those things that presents as that stressful state. The next food that helps to fight stress, turkey breast. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced the Thanksgiving slump or sleep slump, so to speak, after you've had that Thanksgiving dinner full of just turkey, which is high in tryptophan, and then you just feel relaxed and you just want to sleep. So turkey breast again is high in tryptophan, which helps to produce serotonin. Serotonin is uh, responsible for the hunger and happiness state of mind. You can also find tryptophan in seeds, fish, lentils, eggs, bean. Especially if you're not a person that doesn't eat meat or you don't like turkey breast, you can stick more with the plant-based items such as the lentils and the beans and seeds. But again, tryptophan, another common amino acid. Another food, oatmeal. Now, carbs, contrary to popular belief, carbs are not bad. We do need carbs in our bodies. Different processes and that go on in our body need carbs. You just have to be careful of the type of carbs that you include in your diet. Complex carbs are going to be a lot better for you because they won't contribute to that blood glucose spike versus something like a donut or pastry in the morning. Your donuts, your pastries, yes, they may taste way 100 times better maybe than oatmeal, but it's also going to cause you to have problems down the road too. But carbs are also still a key component in nutrition, and particularly also with making serotonin. Again, all of these foods that I'm going to talk about, they're not so much where you eat that food and you just feel awesome. It's going to help with different processes in your body. If your body is missing different key nutrition or key vitamins, key minerals that are responsible for a particular chemical process, for instance, to get to serotonin, you have to support your body with those basic things so that it can now on its own start to make the things that it needs. Another food to fight stress, salmon. Or if you're Southern like me, it's salmon. You also have your, what I call the SMASH. SMASH stands for salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. These are fish that are high, all of these fish are high in omega-3s. Omega-3 fatty acids are responsible for your anti-inflammatory type processes in your body, also good for heart health. It also helps to counteract adrenaline and cortisol, which are key hormones that get overloaded basically. And a lot of this, I'm kind of simplifying things, so I don't want to get too further into all the chemical processes and make you have flashbacks of taking chemistry and biochemistry in school and everything. But these are key hormones in chronic stress. So it helps to counteract adrenaline and cortisol. Blueberries. Blueberries are high in antioxidants. They also help to boost the type of white blood cells, which are called natural killer cells. And they do just what they say. They are natural killers. They help to play a role in the natural immunity by killing infected cells. And thus, this helps to also reduce stress on a cellular level. There's so many things that when we say stress that you're used to seeing someone, frazzled, but there's so many things that are going on underneath there all the way down to the cellular level. And these are the things that we want to support. These are the systems of the bodies that we want to support. Also, we have seeds. and cashews, just kind of grouped all these together. But up under seeds, seeds in particular are high in magnesium. And magnesium is used to help regulate emotions. It can help to decrease depression, fatigue, and cramps. And cashews, on the other hand, are high in zinc, and this zinc can help to reduce or decrease anxiety. Both of these minerals, zinc and magnesium, are both involved in serotonin production. Okay, so basically, along that whole process of when your body finally gets to make serotonin, zinc and magnesium are needed for it to reach that point. I personally use or even tell people about magnesium a lot, particularly with cramps, especially if I have someone with a lot of muscle spasms after an injury. Increasing your magnesium can be very, very helpful. This is one of those little tidbits that I always like to share with everyone. Did you know that at least 80% of the serotonin production occurs in the gut? And what that means in a nutshell is if you have a poor diet, which a lot of us do, if you have a poor diet and your gut is unhealthy, then that means that it's not absorbing the necessary nutrients that it needs to make serotonin, to make all of these different things. And therefore, that deficiency can lead to other conditions such as depression. So the gut health and basically what you're putting into our body, into your body, what we're putting into our bodies plays a big, big, big role in stress. Another food that helps us fight stress, oranges or citrus fruit in general, but oranges, a great source of vitamin C. Vitamin C, I'm sure as a lot of people know, is important for supporting the immune system. And when you support the immune system, this helps to reduce the stress hormones such as cortisol or the stress hormones, including cortisol. So, in a nutshell, you can kind of basic person doesn't mean that this happens with everyone in everyone's body, but if you have a high prolonged amount of cortisol occurring, that is eventually going to lead to things like fatigue, brain fog, as well as that belly fat, okay, or what we also call that visceral fat, I mean more fat that is occurring around your organs. So you can have that bloated feeling, or sometimes people, guys, or say have like a beer belly, that type of thing. Usually there's some type of cortisol that's involved with that. Now, it does not mean that if you eat an orange, that all of a sudden that belly fat is going to reduce. There's a lot of other things that go on with that, but just oranges in general, vitamin C helps to fight stress. Eggs, which I'm sure a lot of people eat, eggs for breakfast or lunch, or you have it on a salad. Eggs contain a lot of vitamin D and acetylcholine, and these are compounds, vitamins, amino acids that are necessary for immunity, uh, decreasing inflammation or anti-inflammatory, and also with mood regulation. So again, very, very important. And you may say, depending on the type of person you are, may say, ew, seaweed, ew. But I love sushi. So for the sushi lovers, your seaweed, your kelp, your nori, very rich in iodine. Now, a deficiency of iodine can lead to fatigue, depression, and thyroid issues. So you can see so much overlap. And it's not saying that seaweed just has iodine, but it's just very rich in iodine. And this is why it's very important to have, like I showed you on that first picture, the rainbow of all the fruits and vegetables, to basically eat the rainbow, to have all of these different things included in your diet. Doesn't mean that if you hate seaweed that you have to now start including seaweed, but maybe finding something else that is equivalent to that, or just eating healthier. You know, it's, you want to stick with majority of your diet being on a healthier level. We're all going to have those times where we, have a little donut or have this, but if that's making up the majority of your diet, you are most likely deficient in a lot of things, and it probably does explain why you're so tired, why you don't have any energy, why you're so stressed out. One that is one of my favorites, beets, and I put roots to greens, meaning that you can eat the root to the tops, all the way up to the greens. The greens are similar to, I'd say a taste similar to spinach a little bit. You can cut them up, saute them a little bit. And 1 cup of beets provides 30% of the folate that is needed. And folate, again, plays a key role in the nervous system or nervous system health. It can also be depleted from with taking common medications such as medications for diabetes, cholesterol, inflammation. And this is what I talked about earlier as medication being one of those stresses that can affect our bodies because you're taking medication for one thing, but it's causing all of these other side effects. So when you see those commercials and it says, "Oh, tell your doctor to put you on X, Y, and Z," but then whispers at the end, "But it may cause anal leakage and itching and death." Like, okay, maybe I don't want to tell my doctor about that. Um, but it's also depleting your body of other key nutrients that it needs. So usually someone starts on medication for one thing, they usually end up on medication for other things. And that's where this bottom one with the arrows, medication, eventually leads to deficiency in something, which eventually leads to stress. Not exactly a food per se, but I wanted to include this in. You drinking tea, especially chamomile tea, to help relax. Also, ginger and lavender are good to add to teas. Ginger, lavender, and actually chamomile as well. There's a Roman chamomile and a German chamomile. All four of those also come in essential oils. If you're ever interested in essential oils, they can be very, very helpful. Add it to hot water, drink it, tasty. But it's also a healthier way to sleep and wind down from a stressed day versus taking some type of medication in order to sleep. Um, and I put star as, or I'm sorry, sleep as star to kind of highlight it because the sleep time is when our bodies should be recovering. That should be when you get that sufficient sleep, that improved quality of sleep. Your body is able to better be restored, and then ultimately leading to reduced stress. So some other foods that help to fight stress, you also have your organ meats, which are a great source of vitamin or B vitamins. And again, you may say, ooh, organs, but very, very good source of other vitamins and minerals to help with stress control. Also, acerola cherries, which either the fresh cherries or cherry juice. Just be careful with juice in terms of any added sugar, but also high in vitamin C. Sweet potatoes, great carb choice. If you're wanting just like that, craving that carb, also a great source to help fight stress. And lastly, maca powder, which is basically ground up green tea leaves. It is low in caffeine and high in L-theanine. L-theanine is an amino acid that's also found in mushrooms, and it can help with mental function, helping to control mental function. Just as a side note, because I am a chiropractor, so I also wanted to include some other things that can help with stress. Also, exercise, getting some form of exercise daily, at least if it's 20, 30 minutes a day of just moving. Also, chiropractic care. Chiropractic care, as chiropractors, we help to release those joint restrictions, which allows blood flow and nerve flow adequately, which then in turn helps to decrease pain and gives you that euphoric type feeling. I have some people that get adjusted and they're like, ah, because of that euphoria, because of all of that blood flowing appropriately now. Also, massage to help relax those deep tissue, whether it's a deep tissue massage, whether it's a sports massage, or even if it's just what I call a fluff massage, just to help to reduce that stress. And also, if you're into meditating or prayer, being able to stay grounded and helping to focus on the good. So as an offshoot of stress, one of the common questions on top of the stress, why am I so tired all of the time? Well, a possible answer is a common symptom or side effect of stress is low energy or fatigue, and that is due to systemic burnout. Another answer is when your diet is full of what we call the standard American diet, when it's full of carbs and processed foods such as pastries and soda and sugary cereals, in order to cope, and this is done in order to cope with stress, then the blood sugar tends to fluctuate drastically throughout the day, and then that can also lead to low energy. So let's talk about a few foods that you can add to your diet for their energy boosting properties. In general, foods that are rich in complex carbs and proteins are great sources for boosting energy throughout the day. This isn't a food, but it is something that you put into your body: water. We need it. Our bodies need it. We're made up of a lot of water, so we need to keep it to maintain. When you're dehydrated, it will make you feel tired and it will make you feel drained because you literally are. You're not getting that water in, so you are so-called drained. And also will lead you to seek out other things, more sugary drinks, or seeking out caffeine because you're trying to compensate that tiredness and trying to boost it somehow. You want to consider trying to drink up to half of your body weight in ounces. It doesn't mean that if you go from right now, you hardly drink any water, to now drinking half of your body weight in ounces. Some people kind of need to kind of ease into it, just start adding, maybe a bottle of water each day into your normal routine. And then it starts to become more of a trend, more of a ritual that you can get used to it. If you need to add a squeeze of lemon to it, to break up that flavor or non-flavor, whatever you need to do outside of adding sugar and sweeteners, that type of thing, to water. Bananas are another good energy booster. They give a quick boost of energy, and that's due to the 3 different types of sugar that are absorbed at different rates into the blood. It's also a fat and cholesterol-free source of energy. Now, if you are diabetic, you want to limit or even avoid bananas because it can cause a little bit more issues when you have diabetes. We talked about leafy green vegetables before, but specifically spinach. It's a great source of iron. Iron is needed for oxygen flow to the brain, and without it, it can lead to fatigue and tiredness. It is a great base to use as a salad base, lightly sauteed, or in a green smoothie. Some other sources are also lean meats, liver, again, one of those organ meats, dried beans and lentils, as well as dried fruit. Dried fruit you still have to be careful of because of the sugar content in it, but it still is a great source of iron. Another little tidbit here: always make sure when you're eating iron-rich foods that you eat it in conjunction with vitamin C. This helps the iron to be more readily absorbed into the body. And I also wanted to talk about additional nutritional support because of the standard American diet, like I told before, that talks or includes a lot of highly processed foods. A lot of times we're not getting the necessary vitamins and minerals that we need for our body. And even when you're on a healthy diet, unfortunately, because of sometimes the way that food is made, the way that food is produced, the way that it's grown, we still need that extra support that can come from supplements, and especially during a time of added stress. So some of those vitamins I mentioned before are nutrients or supplements, omega-3s. Cod liver oil is a great source. They have different versions out there. This may not necessarily be the cod liver oil that you were forced to take when you were younger. Again, I might be kind of revealing my age with that one. They're usually can come in like a pill or supplement form too. I currently take a cod liver oil, and I do not have any fishy burping afterwards. Also, salmon and also the other smash fish that I talked about earlier, great for heart health and getting your omega-3 fatty acids in. Vitamin D, sunshine, sometimes just getting out of the house, getting outside, now we're going into officially into spring soon. So sunshine, you get that instant energizer. Also, if you need that extra supplementation support, it also helps to support cellular function. Magnesium, great for nervous system health and also with the musculoskeletal system. And of course, I'm sure everyone knows your B vitamins. They help to support the physical and nervous systems as well as for energy production. And a lot of these products can be found in a good high quality multivitamin, multi-mineral, as well as omega-3 is, again, it's involved in serotonin production. Some other support considered your calming type herbs. Passiflora or passion flower is helpful for anxiety and sleep issues. There is a supplement that I currently use called Formula 303 that has valerian, which is the one that you see second that's used for anxiety, but it has valerian, passiflower, and magnesium. And it's a great product, particularly for muscle spasms or chronic stress too. Skullcap, the third one down, used for insomnia, anxiety. Licorice helps us support the adrenals, the gastrointestinal system or the GI system, and helps with respiratory function. Now, if you are someone that has high blood pressure or you're on medication for high blood pressure, you want to avoid licorice. Ashwagandha. It helps to maintain well being during temporary stress. Also, St. John's wort, which can be used for mild anxiety. And of course, CBD, which is a phytocannabinoid. And if you ever need any information on CBD, just let me know. I'm just like full of knowledge on CBD, but it is considered an adaptogen. I take it here and there myself. It is not something that makes you high or anything like that. The key with all of these is finding quality supplements, things that don't have your extra fillers in it or extra ingredients that could cause any type of reaction to you. Things that you should consider with supplementation. Again, make sure that it is high quality, particularly from a whole food source as much as possible and full of extra fillers. And like with anything, always consult with a healthcare professional about what is right for you and any possible interactions. If you're currently on medications, there are things that you should not have. This is also where having like your annual physical, getting annual blood work done to rule out some things if you're currently having a lot of different unexplained symptoms. So important takeaways here. You always want to make sure that you're maintaining a healthy, balanced diet lifestyle. And I call it a lifestyle because you can't look at it as diet as a temporary fix for things. You have to look at it as a lifestyle. Long-term changes is going to give you long-term results. Also, you can factor in the 80-20 rule. 80% of your diet should be on that healthier kick. 20% of those little things, you may want to have like a cheat. You don't want to have a cheat week, maybe a cheat day, maybe a cheat few hours, and then you get back on track. And you also want to decrease your stress and increase your energy naturally with healthy whole foods. Supplements are great, but your best thing is always going to come through your whole food sources themselves. And if you would like any more information or if you would like to schedule a nutritional consult, this is my information, Reed Chiropractic. I'm in the Castleberry area. You can call, email if you have any questions at all. I appreciate everyone tuning in for this talk, and I will hand it back over to the ladies.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reed. That was very informative. Does anyone have any questions? Well, we have a very knowledgeable person here to answer them.
Hey, Dr. Reed, can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm recovering from a hormone-positive breast cancer, so I try to stay away from phytoestrogens in my protein sources. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have any recommendations on plant proteins that you find particularly good?
Uh, plant protein sources. Um, your lentils. Do you eat quinoa?
Yes,
Quinoa is a good source. Those are like the biggest ones for protein sources. Also, have you ever looked into protein shakes?
I do, but most of them have soy protein isolate,
Okay.
so I steer clear of those.
I'll look at
Try to
the
look for
one that
pure protein.
the company that I use is a whole food source company. There are, particularly, there's two different types of shakes, and one of them is a plant-based one, but I'll look specifically and with the ingredients and let you know.
Thank
And
you.
I can always reach back out to Elizabeth Plummer. Okay.
So I've got a question about spinach specifically. So if
hmm
you have it and if you have it raw, does that offer any more vitamins and minerals than if you cook it?
Raw is always going to be your best source for things. Sometimes people don't like raw. One way you could get around that is adding it to like your smoothies type of thing, or if it's a salad, mixing it with other greens as well. As soon as you start to cook something, yes, it does lose some of that nutrient. It still has it, and that's why I said with the spinach, like lightly sautéing it. You don't want to like cook it to death. And that's probably why I hated canned spinach because it was just like, ugh. It was just like cooked to death. Where it was just like dead. But kind of lightly saute it, where it's almost like you're putting it in your pan and then almost taking it out less than a minute later, type of thing. But yes, always raw is always going to be the best.
Yeah, your comment made me think of that question. Personally,
hmm
I like to put it in the pan after I've fried bacon, but that probably defeats the whole. Well, thank
You know what, everything in moderation. You know,
you.
I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, no bacon for you. It's everything in moderation. Definitely sticking with your better quality oils. If you are gonna saute things. So
Well, thank you so much. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think everyone is good. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We appreciate you coming out here for your lunch virtually. And if you have any questions or want to reach out to Dr. Reed afterward, take her information or feel free to reach out to me. So thank you, everybody, for coming.
thank you. Oh, also Elizabeth, email me, and then I can look in that information and email it back to you. Yeah.